The woman he trusted with his life just proved she never needed his protection at all, and by the time Jack Reacher figured that out, 6 men were already dead on the floor of a hotel room, and he was the one standing over their bodies when the police walked in. This is Reacher Season 4, Episode 4, and the twist buried inside its final 5 minutes changes everything you thought you knew about this season. For 3 episodes, Reacher had been chasing one simple question. Why did Anna Merrick pull a gun on a crowded Philadelphia subway platform and end her own life right in front of him? Every answer he found only opened up a darker one underneath it. A missing flash drive. A dead teenager. A congressman with more to hide than anyone realized. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a young woman named Lila Hoth, who told Reacher she was searching for her biological father so she could save her own life. That story felt true. Felt like something worth fighting for. Reacher believed it, and so did we. But Episode 4 rips that belief apart piece by piece, and by the final scene, the person Reacher thought he was protecting turns out to be the most dangerous person in the entire investigation. This episode is called Karambits and Pieces, and that title is not just clever wordplay. It is the key to the entire twist. Early in the episode, Jacob Merrick, Anna's brother and a police officer himself, walks into the morgue to identify his nephew Ben. What the medical examiner tells him stops him cold. Ben was not killed with a standard blade. He was killed with a karambit, a small curved knife tied directly to Indonesian martial arts. A weapon you do not just happen to own. Someone trained with that blade. Someone who learned how to use it long before they ever set foot in Philadelphia. That single detail is the thread that unravels everything. Because while Jacob is standing in that morgue absorbing the worst news of his life, across town, Lila Hoth and the woman she calls her mother, Amisha, are walking back into their hotel room and finding their bodyguards already dead on the floor. Armed men are waiting for them, demanding to know where the flash drive is. And instead of panicking, instead of running, Lila and Amisha reach into their jackets and pull out karambits of their own. Sit with that for a second. The same exact weapon that killed Ben Merrick is now in the hands of the 2 women Reacher has spent the entire season trying to keep safe. This is where the episode stops being a mystery and starts being a confession. Because Lila's story was never solid to begin with. First, she told Reacher she needed his help finding Congressman John Sampson for a bone marrow match, claiming he was the father she never knew. When that story fell apart under scrutiny, she pivoted, this time claiming she was an investigative journalist trying to expose Sampson's role in covering up war crimes overseas. Reacher wanted to believe her. He was falling for her. And that is exactly what made him vulnerable. Meanwhile, the political side of this story was getting darker by the minute. Sampson, a man on the fast track to running for president, finally admitted the truth to Reacher directly. Years earlier, he oversaw operations tied to a biological research facility in Indonesia, and his own team trained the local forces under General Putra, a man who would go on to become a war criminal. When American forces pulled out, the fallout was catastrophic. That secret is exactly what Anna Merrick had been sitting on. She worked inside a government facility responsible for digitizing old classified files before permanently destroying the physical copies. Somewhere along the way, she made a copy of one file, deleted it from the system, and made sure the paper version never made it to the incinerator. That file became the single most dangerous object in the entire season, because it was the only surviving proof of what really happened in Indonesia. And that is what everybody is now hunting. Reacher does not know it yet, but he just spent an entire episode protecting the very people responsible for pulling this whole conspiracy together in the first place. To understand how deep this deception runs, you have to go back to the moment Anna Merrick lost everything. Weeks before that subway platform, Anna was living a quiet life, working a government job that most people would forget the moment they walked out of the building. Digitizing old classified files. Destroying the paper originals once the digital copies were confirmed. It was routine. It was boring. Until the day she came across a file that never should have survived. Something tied directly to Indonesia. Something tied directly to a congressman about to run for the highest office in the country. She made a decision that changed everything. She copied that file onto a drive, deleted the digital version from the system, and made sure the physical copy never reached the incinerator. In that moment, Anna Merrick became the only person on Earth holding proof of a cover-up that powerful men had spent years burying. But someone found out, and that is when they took her son. Ben Merrick was leverage. Nothing more, nothing less to the people running this operation. Anna was given a deadline and a simple choice. Hand over the drive or never see her son again. She was already deep into that impossible bargain when everything fell apart. No proof of life ever came through. No call, no message, no sign that Ben was still breathing. Anna understood exactly what that silence meant. Her son was already gone, and there was nothing left to trade for. That is the moment that explains everything Reacher witnessed on that subway platform. Anna was not simply a woman in crisis. She was a mother who had already lost the only thing she was fighting to protect, and she boarded that train with a weapon, not the flash drive, because she had stopped trying to save Ben and started trying to make the people who took him pay. When Reacher approached her and identified himself as a cop, he thought he was calming her down. In reality, he confirmed her worst fear. The authorities were closing in, her window to get revenge was closing with it, and she had nothing left to lose. She never planned on walking away from that platform alive. So where did the drive go? That question hangs over the entire episode, and the answer might be hiding in plain sight. Anna never had it on her when she died, which means she sent it somewhere before she ever stepped onto that train. The obvious assumption is Lila, the person Anna had been in contact with. But if Lila and Amisha are the very people responsible for orchestrating this blackmail scheme, then trusting them with the one piece of evidence that could expose them makes no sense at all. Which raises a far more unsettling possibility. What if Anna sent it to the one person she still trusted completely, her own brother, a police officer who had no idea what was coming his way? While that theory sits in the background, the present danger is closing in fast. Reacher picks up chatter through a device he intercepted from the enemy, and what he hears sends him sprinting across the city. The target is Lila. Someone is closing in on her location, and Reacher, still convinced she is the vulnerable one in all of this, races to get there first. He does not make it in time to stop what happens, but he also does not need to, because when he finally reaches that hotel room, there is nothing left for him to save. The men sent to interrogate Lila and Amisha are already dead, every single one of them, and the two women who supposedly needed his protection are nowhere in sight. That is the moment the entire season pivots. Reacher spent 4 episodes believing he was the shield standing between Lila and a group of dangerous killers. Instead, he now realizes with brutal clarity that he has been standing next to the danger the entire time. The karambit that killed Ben Merrick was never a random detail. It was a signature. And Lila Hoth just proved she knows exactly how to use one. To make matters worse, the police do not see any of this the way Reacher does. When they arrive at the scene and find him standing over a room full of bodies, they do not see a man who was too late to stop a massacre. They see a suspect. And just like that, the man who has spent this entire investigation chasing the truth finds himself the one being led away in handcuffs, while the two women responsible for all of it disappear into the night. Sitting in the back of a police car, hands behind his back, Reacher has time to do something he rarely allows himself to do. He replays every single conversation he ever had with Lila Hoth, and this time he sees it for what it actually was. Every tear, every carefully timed vulnerability, every moment she let him get just close enough to trust her completely, it was never an accident. It was a performance built specifically for him. And the worst part is, it worked exactly the way it was designed to work. Because here is what makes this twist land so hard. Reacher is not an easy man to fool. He reads people for a living. He has survived this long by trusting almost no one and questioning everyone's motives before they even finish a sentence. And yet Lila Hoth got past every single one of those defenses, not through force, but by understanding exactly what Reacher could not resist, someone who looked like they needed saving. She weaponized the one thing Reacher has never been able to walk away from, and she used it to keep him blind to the truth for 4 straight episodes. Now think about what that actually means for everyone else caught in this storm. Jacob Merrick just identified his own nephew's body in a morgue, learning the boy was murdered with a blade tied to a martial art most Americans have never even heard of. He does not know yet that the same weapon is now sitting in the hands of 2 women, his own family briefly considered allies. When that connection finally reaches him, and it will, the grief he has been carrying since Ben went missing is going to collide head-on with a rage he has not felt yet. Christopher Rodriguez Marquette has played Jacob as a man barely holding the pieces of himself together since episode 1. And this revelation is the exact kind of gut punch that could finally push him past his breaking point. And then there is Congressman John Sampson, a man who just admitted, out loud, to his role in training the forces of a man who would go on to become a war criminal. That confession alone could end a political career. But it is nothing compared to what happens if that flash drive ever sees daylight. Sampson is not just protecting his reputation anymore. He is protecting a future presidency built on a foundation he knows cannot survive the truth. Every move he makes from this point forward has to be read through that lens, because a man with that much to lose does not simply wait around and hope the problem disappears on its own. Which brings us back to the drive itself, the one object every single person in this story is willing to kill for. Anna Merrick died holding nothing but a weapon and a broken heart, which means somewhere out there, that file is still sitting untouched, waiting for the right person to find it. If the theory holds and Anna really did send it to her brother before she ever stepped onto that subway platform, then Jacob is not just a grieving cop caught in the crossfire anymore. He might be the one person on Earth who can finish what his sister started, whether he even realizes it yet or not. What makes this episode so effective is that it does not slow down to let any of this breathe. The moment Reacher discovers the truth about Lila is the same moment he loses his freedom, arrested at the exact scene that should have proven his innocence. There is no pause button here. No room to process the betrayal before the next crisis lands on top of it. That relentless pace is exactly what makes this season feel different from everything that came before it. Every answer costs something. Every truth Reacher uncovers takes something else away from him in the same breath. So where does that leave us heading into the next chapter? Reacher is in custody with no evidence tying him to a crime he did not commit, but also with nothing solid connecting him to the two women who vanished before the police ever arrived. Lila and Amisha are out there somewhere, armed, dangerous, and now fully aware that their cover is blown. Jacob is one conversation away from learning the truth about the very people his family briefly trusted. And a congressman with presidential ambitions is running out of ways to keep his past buried.